Alright, in this video I'm going to take you through the graffiti assignment process from start to finish. Alright, so your first step is to come up with a letter design. So what I asked you guys to do was to draw a letter. Right? It should be like a print letter would be a good way to get started. That way you have a base to build off of. And then surround that letter with a form, like a bubble, blocks, whatever you want. Once you have that letter surrounded, you can erase the original letter and you're left with your bubble letter. So this is a way to develop your style. Okay? And by repeating that, or making changes like extending part of the letter, changing angles, doing different things, you can start making changes and developing different styles. Right? This is just a guideline. You're not supposed to copy it exactly, but you do want to give yourself a little bit of space because you want to imagine that these are going to have color or value or something inside each letter. Your assignment is to come up with at least 3 different lettering styles, although it is very easy to come up with many more. Okay, so let's say I wanted to do like this, and then I decided I'm going to do like a sharp A, kind of looks like a spaceship. So you can easily come up with 10, 20, 30. It's a fun thing to just maybe watch a TV show and doodle, come up with a design. Once you have your letter designs, take a picture and submit that to the assignment. That is part 1 of graffiti design. Part 2 of graffiti design is to choose which lettering style you want, and then to create a piece of text using that style. And the text is of your choosing. It could be a word, a nickname, a name, yours, somebody else's, combinations of letters and numbers, as long as it's school appropriate, nothing inappropriate. So let's say I was to do the word art. Right? What I recommend is write out the letters in regular print first to make sure you have the sizing, to make sure that they fit on the paper and you're not going to run out of room, and that everything's going to work. Once you have those, you can start to map in the rest of your thing. Now, if you think you can handle overlapping, you might want to put them closer together. If you think overlapping is going to be too stressful, then maybe separate them out so you have some more room in between the letters. And once you have that, you can go through and create your lettering style. As you're doing this, make changes. Examine what you're doing, improve it, modify it, make it better. Maybe you want to add some more elements, some other things. Your design is starting to come together. You know, add some wavy design going across the letters. So this is the design phase. We're kind of planning out what the whole thing is going to look like. It doesn't have to be too clean, but it should have your ideas. Maybe I'll throw a shape underneath. So now I'm also adding other elements. If I want to throw a little cartoon character or some sort of face in here. Now, who knows? I'm just making stuff up. So whatever you want to add, figure that out in the design phase. Take a picture of your sketches and submit that to the first assignment as well. That is part 2 of the first assignment, Graffiti 1 design. Okay? Part 1, letters. Part 2, figuring out the text and the basic design. Then after you've got both of those things figured out, you're ready to move on to the final. For the final, you're going to want a clean sheet of paper. Work with whatever materials you have available or whatever paper you have available, but you want it to be in good condition and you want to be able to use the whole thing. Don't use something that has other work in it, other notes. It is purely for your work, your art assignment. So once I've got my materials ready and I have an idea of what I'm going to do, I'm ready to get started. If you don't like what you came up with here, do it again. Come up with a new idea until you are happy with it. All right? You're not locked into one idea. All right, so let's say I change things up and I'm going to go with Spring Valley High School. Okay, so I've got my letters mapped out. I know that they fit. I'm ready to start my lettering. I'm going to do some overlapping. Trying to figure out how things are going to fit together. Alright, so now I've got my letters sort of mapped out. They're all kind of stacked on top of each other, so I have to now separate them out. I like to work with Sharpie, so I'm going to come in with a Sharpie. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can use any marker. Just be careful with water-based markers like Crayola. They can smear if you don't let them dry. Or pen, just press harder with your pencil, crayon, whatever you like. Let's see, so I think I'm going to do the S is underneath. So I'll have the H on top. Now, at this point, you may have wanted to add any other embellishments before getting into the tracing. I'm just trying to save some time on the video, but I might add a cartoon character, some other details, a lot of other stuff I can add into this image. Maybe I still will. Because I want to make mine unique, make mine stand out, have a little bit of a voice. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. A little bit off than what I intended, but this will work. I've got that traced out. I'm going to erase the pencil lines because I don't need that part anymore. All right. Keeping my hands spread apart so that my paper does not crumple as I'm erasing. Notice I'm spreading my forefinger and my thumb and using the space in between them to erase. See, even then I still crumple. Mistakes happen. Just take your time. Don't rush through it like I am. Clean up your workspace. Check your stuff. And you're ready to move on to the next step. Now, I think I'm going to end up doing some designs on here where I'm going to add some like tiger stripes onto the letters, which I think will look good because, you know, we're the tigers. If you didn't know that, we're the tigers. I'll kind of figure out, you know, what's that going to look like. I might want to look at a picture of a tiger to actually see what the real tiger stripes look like rather than just using my imagination. But it's a good way to get started too. So there's other designs I can still add in and consider. But the other thing I'm requiring is that you give a sense of depth. And the sense of depth is created through a couple of different ways. One is to have a cast shadow, which would be an echo of the whole shape, or to add perspective lines or parallel lines coming off the letters. So you can choose any one direction to put those lines. I'm going to choose the bottom so that the letters look like they're coming above me. If you wanted to look like they're swooping below you, you would use the top, the left, or the right, depending. But only one side at a time. All the lines are going to go in the same direction. So now that I've decided which way my letter is going to go, I'm going to go to the bottom and find all of the corners of the edges that are on the bottom of the letters. And I'm going to put a line coming off of that corner. And it's going to be the same length for each corner, going in the same direction, staying parallel. I can even check it by comparing it to the edge of the paper. If this and this are parallel to each other, I'm good. I don't want to stick it out at an angle. Right? So keeping that parallel, finding all the corners and the edges. There's one in there, one down here. Okay. If you're working on this and you think you may have missed one or you're not sure, send me a picture when you have it like this and I will check it. And I can give you some feedback, all right? That's one of the good things about the Google Drive folder. You can submit work and get feedback and tips from me. Okay? With curves, it can be a little bit tricky because you don't have a corner to go off of. So what I recommend is taking your pencil, lining it up with the edge of the paper, totally vertical, and sliding it across, keeping it vertical, and as soon as it touches that letter, that's where you're going to drop your line. Same thing on the other side. coming across. Don't forget some letters are going to have a visible top section. Okay. So there's going to be some other stuff in here that I might have to figure out. That's going to overlap. That's going to overlap. But I'll show you that in a second. So once I have as many lines as I can find, what I'm going to do is take the line segment in between two of them and move it down. Okay, coming off the letter. So this line goes horizontal like that. So that means down here, that line is going to go horizontal parallel to that. Okay. Now, don't just connect the ends of lines. Because look, this next section goes straight up. You're not going to see that. This is coming off of that. So it's going to be a little section down there. This and that match. This little section matches right there. And then when it hits this, it's going to curve around with the S. Yeah. So it's easy to get confused and just start connecting the ends of the lines, but really you're taking this part and moving it down. So I'm essentially following the contour of the bottom, wrapping it around. That really should connect, and I would not see that one. I just had a gap there. So this is going to wrap around. And if there's not two lines, you just keep going until you hit something else. And when you hit something else, that's when you stop. And this one comes around, and it's going to hit up. It hits there. Now here's something I have to kind of figure out. I know this line is going to continue, even though there's going to be a corner here actually, coming off. So that swoops like that. And then the rest of this is going to continue on through here and curve and mesh into that. That's one of those little things you have to use your intuition and your creative judgment to figure out. Same thing up here. I know there's going to be a bottom there, and I'm going to copy that line across there. Might be some little sections in here. Right here, there's going to be a little section in there. So there's some little hidden parts you have to be aware of. Once I've got those all mapped out, I'm ready to bring them all together with the rest of the stuff, and you can see that immediately gives it a bit of a 3D effect and pops it out. Now this is not true perspective, a bit of a trick, but it works. Gets the job done. Okay. You can see my letters are popping out. Last thing I'm going to do is start to add color. Well, any other details, if I want to add maybe claws in the background or maybe some tiger eyes peering through some holes, I have to think about that. But the last thing I'm going to do is add either color or value, meaning you either have to color in the letters, and I would use two different colors for different sizes of letters, or you can use shading if you don't have anything to color with. But when I say value, I mean you can use areas of light and dark to help create more depth. I can even shade on the letters myself. So, I mean, these patterns are going to be sort of, tiger stripes. I can still outline it with the Sharpie if I need to. Lots of different ways to finish this. Your final should look complete, clean, finished, and in good condition. Once you have got it to that step, take some pictures and submit it to the assignment Graffiti Final. You can see some examples of other student work from previous years in the assignment itself. If you have any questions or any problems, please reach out to me, send me a message to Schoology, Remind, or email. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing your work.